What's up, A to Z Sports Live on this Tuesday? A lot of sleepy-eyed people around here because that national title game didn't start until late, went late, but UConn, the national champs in college basketball for back-to-back years. Talked a little bit about what that impact could be yesterday, along with the Coach Cal leaving for Kentucky. But today, once again, we discuss Titans and the draft season, as today Zach and I have on the docket to talk about the most likely first round and second round trade scenarios for the Titans and what we think about this. There's been a lot of talk all draft season long about trading back from 7. What about trading back or up or wherever from 38 in the second round? We'll discuss those. We got a couple mock drafts from outside of Nashville that happened over the last several days. Then we're going to refer to look at some options and what those could look like for Titans trading their first round pick or their second round pick, because we know they don't have a third round pick this year because of the Will Levis trade. They also trade away 2025's third round pick for L'Jarius Sneed a couple weeks ago. And so we're going to get through all of that and also throw shade because it's a Tuesday, which means we throw shade at the end of every Tuesday show. So Zach, welcome in. I hope your bets fell in your favor as mine did last night with BetMGM in that UConn Purdue game, but welcome in. Let's have ourselves a Tuesday.
Well, I hedged a little bit, not even hedged, but I tried to find that soft spot. I waited till I got to plus 12.5. They didn't win by plus 12.5. They won by 16 or 15. So, look, when you're making money, beggars can't be choosers, right? So, that's how last night went. Felt like UConn was going to win. It's one of the best basketball teams that we've seen in some time. Yeah. I would put that basketball team up against a lot of college basketball teams over the last several years. So what UConn has done is pretty incredible. We do have a big show today. We're broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. All 3 platforms, we got you covered. And we'll also tweet out segment by segment, link by link on our YouTube link on our Twitter handle at A to Z Sports. Make sure you lock in and follow us there on our Twitter handle at A to Z Sports. If you're a Titans fan, it's a great follow as we continue to grow that platform and we grow the YouTube platform, as that's the easiest and most effective and efficient way to watch our live streaming shows Monday through Friday on the morning show at 8 a.m. and also Sunday through Thursday, prime time with Buck Rising. So 3 things you can do on YouTube. First, subscribe to the channel. If you've already subscribed, like this video, like this show. If you like this show, that will help it get out to more places in the YouTube world, which helps create more conversation and grow the chat. And that's what we want. We want everybody's opinion. And lastly, ring the bell. Hit the bell icon for live alerts. So when we go live, you get alerted. That is on YouTube. Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? Bottom left corner of your screen. Share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing on this show. So share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed, and how that works out is you guys share the show around. So we've got all of that laundry done. Let's get this party started on a Tuesday talking Titans draft.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Link to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations in Murfreesboro, Columbia, and in Franklin. They're online at KrebsKubota.com. Make sure you hit that like button on the show. If you're watching on Facebook and or YouTube, do that for us. That goes a long way. We're going to talk today about some draft trade scenarios for the Tennessee Titans, and that could be the first round, the second round, but Zach is now, what's up, brother?
Yes. What's up, brother? We have a little bit of Titans breaking news, brother. And
On a Tuesday.
Logan Ryan retiring right now. Logan Ryan, the longtime Titan, Patriot, Giant. I don't know where he bounced around. He was at the Bucks. But I just saw that come across.
The Niners.
Yeah, Niners. That's right. Sprinkle Niners in there. Yeah, that was just this past year. But he is officially retiring. I felt like that's a good way to start this show, as he gave a really good service to the Titans in a couple of other ways. Look, all things must come to an end, whether you're moving on from teams. But I thought he impacted the community with what he did with his animal service and him and his family within the Nashville community, and played really good football. And really, unfortunately, that rainy day in New York against the Giants, that ended his superb Titan season, his best season as a Titan. Got paid a good amount of money for the Titans when they had the trio of Malcolm Butler, Adoree Jackson, and Logan Ryan, but officially retiring. I don't mean to completely interrupt the show, but I felt like when something is warranted, I felt like that was warranted.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up as well. And I just, side note, I hate the fact that the What's Up, Brother, the sketch stuff. Like, it's just.
Oh, you don't
funny.
like it?
I hate that I like it.
Did you know about it before it kind of happened the last couple of weeks?
Of course not.
Of course.
Who are you talking
about? Sketch. You got to watch Sketch.
Of course not.
And Jinxie. That's good content right there.
Right.
And then a little sprinkle of Brecky Hill in there, too. That's good. Overall, that's good Gen Z content, Austin.
Yes. I hate that I find it entertaining, but there you go. So Connor says, I've been watching Sketch for months. Yeah. Me, it's been like days.
12 hours.
Yeah. It was middle of last week. Anyway. All right. So we've got the trade conversation to get to, but appropriate shout out for Logan Ryan right there. We'll talk about first round trades, second round trades, how the Titans could maneuver through the NFL draft. But there's some more housekeeping that we have to do here, Zach, because the national championship game was last night, which means we have a winner, and that would be Rick. Rick is the winner of our A to Z bracket challenge, with our own Zach Reagan coming in second place. So Zach Reagan, I'm sorry, you get nothing, sir. But Rick is our champion, and so he will get a new TV from A to Z Sports. And I've already sent him an email. If he's a local winner, he gets gift cards to Tanger Outlet in Nashville, or Prince's Hot Chicken, their location at the Tanger Outlets. And I know Zach Reagan's not local, so that means the other gift card will start to go down the list of local winners right there. So shout out to Prince's Hot Chicken, the original hot chicken in Nashville, and Tanger Outlets Nashville, Nashville's newest shopping destination, with up to 70% off of your favorite brands. And they've got up to 100 stores out there and off of Cane Ridge. Just opened at the end of October this past year. It really is phenomenal. So when you're talking about spring or summer shopping, when you got back to school coming up here in a few months after the summer, Tanger Outlets Nashville is a place to make a shopping destination for you. So shout out to them, and congrats to Rick. I've already reached out to Rick for his championship, as he had UConn as the winner last night in the men's NCAA basketball tournament. So on to the business at hand, Zach, with the trade scenarios for the Titans in this draft, not just the first round, but the second round. So just to kind of catch Zach up and to revisit from our audience over the last couple of weeks, Jack and I believe it was, talked about where the Titans could trade back in the first round of this NFL draft. And this was from Mike Herndon, who put out a tweet thread about some possibilities of where the Titans can move, and really listed the 7 picks right after the Titans, 8 through 14. And Jack and I talked through the Falcons, unlikely. The Bears are less likely to have this happen. But then you start to look at the Jets, the Vikings, the Raiders, and the Saints. And why I skipped over the Broncos is because the Broncos don't have a second or a third round pick this year. But Jets at 10, Vikings obviously have been talked about a lot. with the 2 first-round picks. Then you have the Raiders and Saints, who have the 44th and 45th pick in this draft, respectively, where the Titans can move back, 1 to 2 to 3 to 7 slots in this first round and still get a high blue chip player. So, Zach, before we dive in, what are your thoughts on these potential trade back situations for the Titans in the first round?
Yeah, I think you look at some of those teams and, well, here, let's take a step back before we talk about trading back. The NFL has changed, right? The NFL is active. Teams were wanting to move. They're wanting to shift. They're wanting to go find their guy. I think Patrick Mahomes is a great example, one of many, many players that when teams towards the middle to bottom that are close but not there, good but not great, they go up to find their guy, whether it's a quarterback, defensive lineman, whoever it is. And you've seen that more and more. And I don't even think that it matters whether you can come into the top 10. There are people that come into the top 5. Look at what Carolina did last year to get to the top 1. So you've seen it all over the board and you've seen it more often. So it's like the trend of trades during the season. That is starting to tick up year after year after year, depending on the availability and how the season plays out. But for this draft, I do think this is what I did. I looked at all 32 teams, and what you really concentrate in is what the Titans were for a while, and that was that mid-tier team. They were not in the bottom half playing for AFC and NFC championships. And you look at the teams that are trying to get to that point, those are the desperate teams. Those are the teams willing to take a risk for the next couple of years to come trade up to a 7 to find and draft a guy that they absolutely fall in love with. And I would say this, help their quarterback. The Titans are trying to help their quarterback. There's no doubt about that in the first round. But teams that are trying to help their quarterback, because by 7, let's be honest, Austin, I think most of the first round quarterbacks, there may be one straggler, but they're going to be gone. I expect the top of this draft to be QB, and that's what it's going to be. There may be a straggler where 7, they can come find value, but I think this is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be drafting or trading away picks and possibly future picks to help these mid-tier teams help their quarterback.
Yeah. And I think the main question from the Titans' perspective of this draft is, will J.J. McCarthy be gone before you're on the clock?
That's
or will
the
he
straggler.
be there on the clock? And if he makes it to 7, then Rain Carthon's probably peeking around that tree and rubbing his hands, being like, I like what I see here, with the opportunity that he could have if that's the case. Now, how would J.J. McCarthy be on the clock at 7? Does that mean the Patriots maybe trade back from 3 and then the Vikings jump up to 3 and get Drake May or Jaden Daniels, whoever doesn't go at 2? Now, that, who knows, right? I've seen that type of scenario out there. So, we've discussed overall the Titans trading back in a couple spots because we know they have a lot of needs still, even after spending the most money so far this offseason across the NFL by a long shot. And they don't have a 3rd-round pick this year. They don't have a 3rd-round pick next year because of trades that have been made the last 2 off seasons. And then there's the trade that happened in the NFL last week that created another trade back scenario in the first round for the Titans, and that was Stephon Diggs going from Buffalo to the Houston Texans, now leaving Josh Allen and the Bills in desperate need of wide receivers. And this was from Joe Biscaglia of The Athletic, who covers the Buffalo Bills, who did this type of trade where you had the Giants taking J.J. McCarthy at 5, trading up, swapping spots with the Chargers dropping back a spot to get Joe Alt, and then leaving Malik Neighbors on the board, where the Bills jumped up from 28 to 7, and the Titans got 28, 60, 133 in the 4th round, and a first-round pick in 2025 to move back 21 spots The Titans also gave a late round pick to Buffalo, however the math works out, to go get Malik Neighbors. I don't think that's enough from the Bills for the Titans to make that move to go back 21 spots, noting that the Bills do not have a third round pick either. So if you're going to get a first and a second, a fourth is going to have to be that third pick, but a first, a second, and a fourth, and a future first in this type of trade. So Zach, we've got that type of possibility. We talked about some of that last week when you were out after this Diggs trade. So your thoughts on that?
So that philosophy, you can justify this in a lot of ways for what the Titans are and what the Titans are going to be. We know that Will Levis will be under contract at least 3 more years, right? Second round pick, doesn't get the fifth year option. The trade scenario in the first round to trade for future first round picks and second round picks, I don't hate the philosophy, because here's what they're saying. This year, you're going to find out more about Will Levis with good players. And next year, you're going to be even more advanced, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to know more about your quarterback, more about your new coach, which is valuable, and more about your offense. And now you can draft 2 first-round players that are more NFL pro ready wherever you're going to pick next year, right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
The Titans, it's a little bit of tomfoolery for their fans, because all of their actions over the last 3 months are like, damn, they're trying to make the playoffs in 2024. They're not trying to make the playoffs in 25, 26, 27. They are trying to do this now, and there is no rebuild. They're building. Like, this is what it is.
They got the building permits, and they're going. It is pedal to the metal.
We'll have to see how it holds up in a hurricane, right? This year, when they face the teams that they face. But I also see the future philosophy is build your foundation here sturdy and spend the money to make sure you get a good foundation, and then also know that, hey, we can trade away our picks for future picks, and then next year, who knows? There's always going to be a good crop of players coming in the first round of the NFL draft. That is a guarantee. Now, whether you pick the correct player, that is up to the general manager of the selected team. That is not a bad philosophy, though, if that is what they're going to do. And they'll tell us that they're doing that, right, with their actions.
Right. And so in that Bills trade scenario, or really in any of these trade back scenarios, you're trying to figure out what's better, the 7th pick and the 38th pick, or having 3, maybe 4 picks in the top 100, right? Or top 60 in the Bills situation, or having 3 picks in the top 45 in like the Raiders situation. So that is one option. And on the building aspect, I think for people that went to like big universities that had like 20,000 plus students, Zach, you can probably relate to this. There are just literal apartment complexes that pop up out of nowhere, like wink your face and boom, there's like 1,000 apartments right there, but they're built with cardboard, right? Like you can see how fast they come up and then how quickly they can start to tear down because they were built for too quick and to make money. Are the Titans trying to build too quick, like a college apartment complex or a townhome community on campus or off campus to make a lot of money right now? Or are they building a sustainable foundation that's going to last for an era of Titans football? That's what we don't know, but they're putting a lot of money into it.
And I think that depends on who they draft, right? Like what direction they're going to go. I'm going to sit here and say it. If they draft Malik Neighbors at the top of the first round, that is going to send a signal to me that they're not addressing one of, if not the biggest problem on the football team, which is left tackle. And that is a red flag to me. I think that's more like an apartment complex. And this is not a slight to Malik Neighbors. He could be Julio Jones. He could be Calvin Johnson. He could be amazing. He also could be Corey Davis. I don't know. I don't think that, but you don't know until you play it out. I know what they need. Now, if they go the long route and they trade away their picks, my problem with this scenario is, at the end of the day, it is is the Bills picking 28 too far down.
Yeah. I think that's what scares a lot of people, is that the Bills are picking 28th. And what are you getting at 28? You're probably getting a project offensive lineman, or look, you could be getting a Xavier Worthy type wide receiver who has been mocked a lot to Buffalo at 28. That could be the perfect wide receiver 3 behind D-Hop and Calvin Ridley as a rookie, and then become a wide receiver 1A or 1B with Calvin Ridley in 2025 or 2026. I think that is something that could make sense. But is the fastest guy at the NFL Combine going to be available at 28, or is he going to get drooled over by somebody right in front of you in the mid-20s, or is somebody like Kansas City going to jump over you like they did with Trent McDuffie and steal Xavier Worthy away from whoever wants him in the late 20s?
Because there's more active teams out there, right? Like, I mean, you got dogs and sharks everywhere trying to find what they want to eat. And, Matt brings this up. He goes, stop playing the what if game, Zach. Joe Alt could be Daly 2.0. Matt, now don't say things like that. That's asinine and stupid. You could say that Joe Alt could be a bust. That's not, that could happen, right? Now, if you look at history, players like Joe Alt drafted in the first round, the hit rate is extremely high. It's not 100%, but you're talking about comparing this man to Daly. Get out of here, Matt. Now you're reaching. That's a reach.
Now, players drafted at that position in the 20s is a significantly lower hit rate, like two guys the Titans know very well, unfortunately, in Isaiah Wilson and Andre Dillard.
Extremely high hit rate for offensive tackles in the first 7 picks of the draft.
Yes.
You have to look at it. That's what I'm saying. And you guys are going to get tired of me by the end of the month saying this, but it's the number 1 need on the football team, and you have an opportunity to pick that player in the top 10 of the draft that usually 90 to 85% hits. And now you don't have to worry about for not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 years. You're going to get the 5th-year option because he's in the first round. That is how you draft and build your offensive line with the pillar at left tackle. So I cannot hear the nonsense, Matt, that you're comparing Joe Alt saying he could be Dennis Daly 2.0. Get the F out of here with that.
Yeah, it's just not the right comparison for Matt to say that.
If Matt would have reorganized his words and said, Zach, you just don't know if Alt's going to be that 10 to 15 year that Orlando Brown, then I'm sitting here like, okay, that's fair.
Not senior, not junior, right? Senior.
Yeah, senior.
Okay.
Senior.
Okay.
Yeah, Orlando Brown Sr. was that dude.
All right. So we've talked through some potential first round trade situations. We do have a second round Titans trade in a mock draft that we're going to get to. We haven't talked about this yet. It came out mid last week, but we hadn't gotten to it because of the Stephon Diggs trade. But Zach, we're going to do that soon. I'll share with you a second round mock draft trade for the Tennessee Titans. But first, Zach, tell everybody about our friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com is where to go to get your new health plan. I got my new health plan a couple of years ago. Health, dental, and vision. 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. They've been in business over 75 years. If you are in Tennessee, you're a Tennessean right now. Boom, you have the ability to get a really good health plan at a really good rate. All you have to do is take a health assessment, then they give you a quote and you make the decision. My decision was easy. I got a better health plan. I saved 20% from my previous health plan. And I also got teeth cleaning, free teeth cleanings for the first. I think I get 2 free teeth cleanings. You don't need, if you're cleaning your teeth 4 times a year, you probably need to stop smoking meth. If you also go to the eye doctor, you need contact lenses, you get an allowance, a contact lens allowance for $100. Boom goes the dynamite, right? Now I can see, thanks to Farm Bureau Health Plans, 200 plus locations. That's Farm Bureau Health Plans, FBHP.com/A to Z.
All right. And with BetMGM, you can always win big with our bonus code ATOZ Sports. When you're a new user, sign up with ATOZ Sports and you get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. But hey, now it's baseball season. College basketball is over. We still got some pro basketball playoffs coming up. That's always fun. But don't sweat a swing and a miss thanks to Insurance Token from BetMGM. Add an MLB wager to your bet slip and activate your bet insurance token. If your bet with the token applied doesn't hit, you'll get your stake back in bonus bets up to a specified maximum amount. That's another chance to step up to the plate and bet on the action on the diamond. Baseball is America's national pastime, and BetMGM's favorite pastime is making the sport even more amazing for fans with BetMGM. So do that. Take advantage of that Major League Baseball bet insurance token all summer long. See BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only. Existing customer offer. Subject to qualification and eligible requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. And for problem game of sport, call Tennessee Redline at 800-889-9789. So you got something else?
Yeah, I got something real quick. Cost 66. Look, I'm in the chat this morning, so better watch out. Zach, you didn't think that the Titans would get Hopkins or Ridley, so you want Alt. Now it must means that the Titans get Neighbors. Let me clarify here. I did not think that they would get DeAndre Hopkins. I fully admit that. I never said anything about Ridley. I never had a conversation about Ridley. So, Cost, I'm not going to let you necessarily put that in there. But DeAndre Hopkins, I was like 1% that they were going to get him, which is 99% that they weren't going to get him. So
I felt good about it. I felt good about it.
I fully admit that, but the Ridley thing, I never had the conversation. So don't put 2 and 2. I told you, I want Alt. I also see in the chat, they're like, well, Zach, what if Alt is gone? If Alt is gone, now my mind comes around to a little bit more things, right? Because I think Alt is the clear-cut number 1 left tackle in this draft. That's what the Titans need, is a clear-cut number 1 left tackle. If the clear-cut number 1 left tackle is gone, then that opens the door. Is Neighbors there? Is Romadunze there? Is Fashanu there? Which they're picking 7, so you would think somebody's going to be there.
The reality is one of these 3 guys is going to be there. Joe Alt, Malik Neighbors, Romadunze. I think 2 of those guys is likely to be there, to be honest, if J.J. McCarthy is a 4th quarterback that goes before the Titans are on the clock. All right, so now let's get to this. We do have a lot of super chats coming, so don't fret. We will get to those super chats here in a second. Here, I got to delete. I got to spam. We got a spammer on Facebook, so I got to go ahead and take care of that before we get too deep into this. But all right, a second-round mock draft trade for the Titans. There's been all this discussion about the Titans trading back at some point to regain the 3rd-round pick that they traded away for Will Levis last year. But how about this? From ESPN's Phil Yates last week with a mock draft trade for the Titans in the 2nd round, but the Titans not trading back, but trading up from 38th overall. And this is what Phil Yates says about this. Teams will have nearly 24 hours to determine if they want to move up in round 2 for someone who might have had day 1 traits but slid. And I have the Titans sending 38th and a pair of 4th rounders, 1 this year, 1 next year, to the Panthers for the 33rd overall pick to kick things off. Yes, Tennessee is already out a 3rd-round pick this year as part of last year's trade-up for Levis, but this team looks intent on trying to win ASAP from Phil Yates. And that player is edge player from Mizzou, Darius Robinson. And here's what Yates says. Let's continue the aggressive offseason for the Titans when they move up for a player whose tape screams first-round talent. It seems wrong even to have Robinson in the 2nd round. He is so physical, quick, and versatile. Had 8.5 sacks last season. Zach, I'll add to this. I saw a tweet yesterday that Mel Kiper Jr. somewhere, whether on ESPN or on his First Draft podcast, who he does that with Phil Yates, that I listen to regularly, a tweet said that Mel Kiper Jr. emphatically stated that Darius Robinson will be a 1st-round pick. And he might be one of the top tweener defensive players when it comes to hand in the dirt or stand-up edge rusher. Think Danico Autry. That is the type of player that Darius Robinson could be and is projected at. When you look at what Field Yates used, the adjectives used for Robinson: physical, quick, versatile. That is what Denico Autry has been for the Tennessee Titans. Yep, the guy's 34 years old and they let him go to Houston. So that is a very intriguing second-round trade for the Titans, not back to regain a third, but up to lose a couple fourths.
Yeah, and now you're this is intriguing, right? Because now you have drafted, in this scenario, you've drafted number 7 overall to whoever you are, or maybe you traded down.
I'll tell you, Field Yates at 7th overall, because this was a 2-round mock draft. He had the Titans taking Joe Alt at 7.
Hey, we like that, Field. I can get on that field right there. This is now you're addressing a team need, and I think this gives you, if you get a edge rusher, you hope that this is like a Harold Landry type second-round pick, right? Because Harold Landry had that same type of conversation talked about him coming out of Boston College, right? Is that this is a first-round edge rusher. He fell in the second round, and the Titans got a ton of value. So much value. Look, the ACL was the ACL. It was in practice. It was before the season. It's terrible.
The ankle injury is what had him fall in the draft, though, if you remember.
Yeah, way back in the day. But he earned the contract, right?
No doubt.
That was kind of what I was getting to. It's like he got paid first-round money, right? Like when he got his opportunity to get paid, he got paid like a premier edge rusher because that's what he had been and has been. Can you kind of do the same thing over again with this scenario? I just think, what do you do you got a big gap now? I think
you want to hear
too big of a gap, in my opinion.
So Darius Robinson would look really nice next to Jeffrey Simmons. He's 6'5", 285, 290 pounds, long arms, big paws, 8.5 sacks. At that size, ran a sub 5-second 40, a 35-inch vertical jump at 6'5", 285 is insane. And so you're talking explosive, large, strong, and long. That is a lot. This is Denico Autry 12 years younger, is what you are thinking Darius Robinson could be next to prime career spot of Jeffrey Simmons. I think that is very attractive. Now, trading up and losing 2 fourth-round picks, one this year, one next year, for a guy who is a need, but he's like, where does that rank in terms of team needs at this point, knowing Joe Alt was your 7th-round pick and Darius Robinson is your 33rd overall pick after moving up in the 2nd round? You know, you still need more offensive linemen. You could use another wide receiver. You can use another corner. And now you're down another draft pick on day 3, and you're still needing to fill.
Well, and didn't the scenario say that he traded away the future?
A 4th rounder this year, which is like 106, I believe, for the Titans, and then a 4th rounder next year.
That's tough. I mean, now
you don't have a 3rd or a 4th in 2025, but you're hoping that you just replace Denico Autry with a guy a dozen years younger.
He just has to hit. I mean, there's no right.
Yeah. It turns into the Titans draft in 2018 when they only had 4 players, right? They got Rashaan Evans in the 1st round, Harold Landry in the 2nd round, Dane Cruikshank in the 5th, and Luke Falk in the 6th. And they went 2 for 4, kinda. Really 1 for 4.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said 2 for 4. Rashaan Evans didn't work out. Rashaan Evans was fine, but regressed each year, which is
he was not fine. He was a bust for a 1st-round middle linebacker.
He was fine early, and then he just fell off a cliff. So we went 1 for 4 in that spot where you're like, man, you really got to hit. And obviously that goes in line with the struggles that John Robinson had for the most part. But yeah, I mean, you have to hit on Joe Alt and Darius Robinson in that spot where they're two contract type guys.
Well, I think that's kind of what's bringing the conversation up is you got first and second round picks. I think there are scenarios in both picks that they could trade both of those away or one of the two away. Obviously, I don't think they'll trade both, but they could trade one of the two away to create value by going to get a player they absolutely love, or to create value by getting more picks because they've got two big gaps the next 2 years. And they're the same gaps, which is round three, which round three has a lot of talent. I mean, last year we talked about round three, and so that would be 3 straight years that they wouldn't have a third round pick.
Last year they did. Tajay Spears.
Oh, yeah, that's right. What was the scenario? Refresh my memory from last year. They had a run on wide receivers. They just had a lower pick.
Yeah, because they traded up for Levis.
They moved down within the round.
Yeah.
And everybody was gone. That was a scenario.
That was when like the two Tennessee wideouts went right where they would have picked, and a couple other wideouts went in that mid 70s, where the Titans moved from, I want to say 72 to like 81 and got Tajay Spears.
Who were those wide? Oh, I know who he was early, but Tank Dell was there. I loved Tank Dell from the start of the last year's draft. And I was like, oh no, once the Texans drafted him, so far, so good. He's got a long career. He's got to figure that out with his injury and all that stuff. But Tank Dell
went 69th.
And nice then who are the two Tennessee wide receivers?
Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman went back to back or something. I think they went like 70.
Year one, how would you rate those guys?
Well, the Giants suck. So, and Jalen Hyatt was not utilized well, but he had holes in his games. Unknown. Cedric Tillman did not have a good rookie year. I think
you're higher. The third wide receiver
in that went.
Yeah. I don't know if you have it up or no.
Oh, I don't have. I can pull up.
That was just right off.
Yeah,
that was round 3 of the 2023 draft.
Yeah, give me a second. now I'm just intrigued.
Yeah,
so I'm pulling up the third round.
Tank Dell, I've got it.
Tank Dell went 69.
Pick 6. Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, and then Josh Downs.
Colts.
North Carolina.
Yeah, that was the other one. So the Titans could have
he played pretty well this year.
Oh, yeah, Josh Downs, good player. I think the Titans would have liked to have Hyatt or Downs in that situation. I don't think they would have gone after Tillman based on some pre-draft conversation. But yeah, the Titans cost themselves an opportunity at one of those guys because they traded the Levis pick. But look, Levis works out. Who gives a damn?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you'll trade all of that if Levis hits.
Without a doubt. Yeah, the Titans had the 72nd pick, and Giants and Browns took Hyatt and Tillman back-to-back, and then Josh Downs went a few picks afterwards before the Titans picked Tajay Spears at 81. Look, Tajay Spears is setting up to be a foundational piece too. At the end of the day, if you missed out on Josh Downs or Jalen Hyatt, but you got Will Levis and Tajay Spears, 2 thumbs up for Rain Carthon, right? So let's ask this question, Zach, and get the chat more involved. We got some super chats to get to throughout this conversation, but I feel like this is a really good question. We've laid out a lot of different scenarios here, but which is more likely for the Titans? Trading the first round pick or trading the second round pick? Now, we're not saying down, up, back, left, right, or center, but which is more likely for the Titans? Trading the first round pick or trading the second round pick? We'll get to all of your opinions on this, but first, I want to tell you guys about our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever an injury happens in life, you have to know who you can go to and who you can trust. I know I'm probably making a visit this summer to the Bone and Joint Institute, but I got to get to the draft. I got to get to my brother's wedding and all that stuff before I get this knee that's been bothering me checked out here coming up in a month or so. But the Bone and Joint Institute is who you can trust. I've trusted them for years of my life. Whenever an injury has happened, whether it's my shoulder, it could also be my foot that I've had a couple years ago as well. Boneandjointtn.org is where to book an appointment. They have all of the experts and the resources under one roof in Franklin, Tennessee, off of I-65 and Highway 96. Once again, book an appointment. It's so easy. Boneandjointtn.org.
It is esports powered by BetMGM. I will be on my BetMGM app later. I used the bonus code ATOZ Sports when I signed up as a new user. I won $2,000 off of Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that Super Bowl when I did sign up.
That's right.
I enjoyed that, and I've been using it ever since.
Still waiting on my commission for that too, because it was my pick that you won big on with that first bet.
I've given you picks since. You remember that FAU pick, that guaranteed blood cold lock?
Sure.
This
is the crazy thing. When you did that with Tom Brady and the Bucs in that championship, the first bet offer was up to $600. We're at $1,500 right now.
God, I would have won a lot more. But I say all that. I will be on my BetMGM app today because we got ball night. The NBA, we didn't have a single NBA game yesterday. I was sitting there itching. I was sitting there saying, where's my fix? Well, I get my fix back today, and we are on the push to the playoffs, boys and girls. I mean, we got this basketball starting to rev up, and if you hate the NBA, that's too bad. Your loss, our gain, because we'll be watching the NBA tonight, betting with BetMGM. You got player props, you got same-game parlays, you got boosts. Download the app today. That's BetMGM.
All right, so Zach, I will send you to the chat. We just asked this question: which is more likely for the Titans, trading the first-round pick or trading the second-round pick? We walked through a lot of examples of trading back in the first round a few different ways. There's could potentially be a trade back in the second round, or as Field Yates put it, a trade up in the second round. So, Zach, I'll send you to the chat to see what people are saying here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
All right, let's start. We've got a lot of comments coming in. IR goes second. Also, Jared goes second. Dylon White goes second. Eric goes first round. Chris Frazier's going second. So is Ethan. So is Darius. Titans, Kyle, and Derek both go first round. We've got a slew of second rounds with Nate Berner, Steve, Monty, Todd all going in the second round. Ashley is also going second round pick. Hunter goes first. Eric Davis goes first. Jake Hughes goes second. Eddie goes second. Nick goes first. Borkington goes second. So does DeMario. Scott Weaver's going to say a first-round pick. Anthony Cook's going to say a second-round pick. Denise says first. Teams get desperate, which we kind of started that show with the desperation of wanting to help your quarterback or going to get your quarterback in the top 7 picks of the NFL draft. Duran goes first. Rashid goes first. Brad goes second, along with Lucas and Tiffany. Damon goes first, is way more likely. Caleb also says first-round pick's more likely. Willie goes second-round pick. Orlando's first. Ken's first. Billy's second. King VC goes second. Josh goes second. So Reitz goes first. I hope Reitz is not my 8th grade teacher because I can't stand that guy. That was Mr. Reitz. Reitz is just a regular guy. So I don't know. I got my eye on you, Reitz. Mark D says first. Melissa says first. So I think overall, take an assessment of this chat, which a lot of really good comments coming in. I think second round pick wins, but there were a lot of first round picks we're talking about a scenario where the Titans trade away either or of what they're going to do and what's more likely.
Right. I'll let you get to your answer in a second, but I did throw up a quick poll on YouTube because I like, we can do some YouTube chat polls, right? So it's just less than 2 minutes old, this poll is, and it's bouncing around. It's really 50-50 in the first couple minutes between first round, second round, but there might be a plus or minus one on either side. Like right now it's 52% second round, but a couple minutes ago or a few seconds ago, it was 51% first round. So it's a young poll that we'll come back to. But Zach, which do you think is more likely for the Titans? Trading the first round pick or the second round pick?
Here's what I think is going to happen. I think that this draft is going to get quarterback happy. And I think that is going to push down premier players that the Titans can, should, and will draft at 7 overall. So you can take whatever approach you want. I'm going more of the lines that the seventh overall pick will be a valuable pick with a valuable player because of how it shakes out. You also have to look at the partners. We started this show. You can't trade back to 28 with the Bills. I think that is way too far. You lost too many games and went through too much hardship. You had so many empty seats in Nissan Stadium to get that 7th overall pick. You can't go to 28. I think they pick at 20 or at 7. That also makes me think that the 2nd round pick is more likely to be tradable. So that's how my explanation goes. I'm going to say it is more likely that they trade away their 2nd round pick, up, down, side to side, doesn't matter. But they're more likely to trade their 2nd round pick than their 1st round pick because I think a premier player is going to be at 7. And that is based on, I did this, I went through this morning. Caleb Williams is going to be the 1st overall pick. Let's move on, right? Drake May and Jaden Daniels, I believe, will also be drafted in the top 5. I also think Marvin Harrison Jr. will be drafted in the top 5. So there's 4 picks in the top 5 already gone. You then, I think, are down to Malik Neighbors, which Giants scenario, Joe Alt scenario we've talked about, J.J. McCarthy, because of quarterback-hungry teams trying to come up. I think that kind of rounds out where you are. And then you've got 2 wild cards where I actually don't know where they're going to get drafted. And that is Rome Odunze and Brock Bowers. Those 2 guys we know can ball. They can play football. And so there's too many eggs for the egg crate. And that's where I'm at. I think that they stick and pick, or more likely to stick and pick at 7 because of the player there.
Yeah, look, I think, and I've said this several times because I truly believe it. If the Titans stick and pick at 7, I'm going to like whoever they pick. Whether it's Alt, Odunze, Neighbors, Bowers, or even throw in the top defensive player on the board across the consensus in Dallas Turner. I think all 5 of those guys would be really good day 1 impact players for the Tennessee Titans. I, however, think because of the quarterback in the top 6, plus the fact that all of their top tier prospects could get pushed back down, I think the Titans could have an opportunity to really load up in the future. And you mentioned something earlier, Zach, when we were talking about the hypothetical Bills possibility. Yeah, moving back to 28 is a lot. But getting future 1st round picks to pair with a roster that is now going to be more expensive in the next couple of years. And so I think right now the Titans are spending so much on veteran players because they have a cheap rookie contract quarterback. At some point, the roster is going to be very expensive, where then you have to rely on a lot of draft picks because you're going to be paying Ridley, paying Snead, paying Awuzie, paying an offensive lineman like Cushenberry, and paying Will Levis maybe. And so now you're going to have to rely on day 2 and day 3 picks to have impacts as well. So if you trade back from 7 because of the level of athlete and prospect that might be available to come up for at 7, I think they could get a lot in a trade back. So I think it's more likely they trade back from 7 than move at 38. I think 38's a really good pick. You're going to get a player that might slide on day 1 for whatever reason. I like trading back from 7 more than moving on 38.
Juan says, Zach, what's it going to take to trade down to 28? Multiple 1st round picks. Future 1st rounders.
Multiple futures?
Yes.
Because multiple 1st round picks means 28 in next year. So you're talking about
Well,
28.
multiples in general. Yeah, I'm talking about I want it all. I want 28, I want 2025, and I want 2026.
Right.
Now,
3.
now you can justify some things. Now, the hard part is you've traded out of all of the best players, right? You can still get good value, but this team is not in the position to try to get good value. They need best players. They need anchor type players. And what you're doing is you're kicking the can. The Bills, they got Josh Allen. They're not going to lose. They're not going to be drafting in the top 10, I don't think. Now, they got a lot of offensive problems, right? They got to find the firepower now that they've traded away Diggs, and they got Dalton Kincaid.
Quick trivia, because Josh says Zach said fleece him. Yeah, if the Bills want to move up 21 spots, get everything you got, fleece him. I agree with you on that.
Because you can always trade up in the future, right?
Yes.
If you have this is what the Browns and the Texans have done over the last several. This is what the Dolphins did. This is how the Dolphins built their playoff roster. And they are a back-to-back playoff team. They're not a great team, but they're a good team. That's how they built it, is they stockpiled so many first-round picks that they could go up, and they now target a player they really love, and they go draft him. And so there's that philosophy, and I wouldn't hate it. Austin, if you're sitting here telling me that you have a first-round pick in the 2024 draft, and maybe it's a later first-round pick now, you have 2 first-round picks in 2025, and you have 2 more first-round picks in 2026 going forth, and still having in those years Will Levis under contract. Now, you hope that you extend him early because he's so damn good, but now you got something. Because what you're leveraging, Austin, is the salary cap continuing to move up. You already have a boatload of money right now, even after you went on a spending spree. You're going to get more money, and you have more picks. And you know what, Austin? If the Titans don't make the playoffs this year, you know who's not going to be surprised? Chat, I'm raising your hand too. Now, some of you are diehard fans that think that, hey, that's the expectation. But let's just call a spade a spade. That's why I think it's a hard question, because I think you could justify either point. So, one, I appreciate the question that kind of spurred all of this. What's it going to take? Give me those future first rounders.
Yeah, for sure. Because
I think your audio may be a little bit roboty. Now I can't hear you, but now I'd replug, maybe replug. So as we move forward with a little bit of technical difficulties, that's kind of where look, that gives us an opportunity. I'll go to the super chat.
Now I can't hear you.
We'll start. Well, now you're back. You're back now. We can hear you, Austin. Now you got to figure out how you can hear us. We'll start with King VC.
Yes.
Lock in and like the show. So that's worth $1.99. We'll give a little golf clap right there to King VC. Lock in and like the show. I'm going to go through the super chats while. Can you hear me?
Good? Can you hear me?
Yeah. He's back. He's back.
Jeez, what the heck happened?
I'll continue with these super chats. Or you want to respond?
I'm back. I'm back now. So we'll get to super chats because we got a lot of them, and we got some that I liked from earlier there too. But first, Krebs Kubota is where you should turn for all of your equipment needs. They are Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment provider. They've got 3 great locations across the mid-state: Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. So check them out at KrebsKubota.com. They're also an elite Kubota dealer, meaning they have the best equipment and a direct line to the Kubota national dealership. They've also got the best warranties with equipment in the nation. So check out KrebsKubota.com. Whether you got big projects, small projects, residential around your home, or commercial around your business, Krebs Kubota can make sure that you have everything that you need to get it all done. If you need to buy the equipment, they make it happen for you financially. If you need to just rent it for the weekend or rent it for a project-by-project basis, Krebs Kubota can help you out as well. Again, family owned and operated, which means they do great work and they care about their customers and their relationships online at KrebsKubota.com.
A to Z Sports powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today. They're the king of the sports books. You can see it right there at the bottom of the screen. Bonus code ATOZ Sports for new users. Get risk-free bet up to $1,500. If your bonus bet, or if your first bet misses, that's the bonus bet that you'll get back with that promo code. Download the app today.
All right, so now let's get to some super chats here on the show. I know King VC's already got read, but always make sure you like the show if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube. Kendall says, dream is to trade back with the Vikings for first rounder in 24 and 25 and picking Brock Bowers. Having 2 first rounders in a year as a jump starter, no trade with the Bills. Well, I think, Kendall, as we just kind of went through, and this was an earlier super chat in the show, if you trade with the Bills, you're going to have multiple first rounders in 2025 and potentially 2026 because of how big that move is. So I think we have covered quite a bit from Kendall's super chat from earlier.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there are a lot of scenarios. And you know what? It's April 9th. As the draft gets closer and closer and closer, more rumors, more leaked information from agents, more leaked information from teams will be put out there. And that's just how the draft works.
Yeah. Andre has a couple super chats here back to back. He says the 2017 draft had 0 number 1 wide receivers, as we saw. That was Corey Davis, Mike Williams, John Ross, all in the top 10. This class is stacked at 2 positions of need. Some classes are just weak. Don't gamble with this opportunity, meaning get your guy at 7, right? If one of those number 1 wide receivers is there or an offensive lineman is there, from Andre. Another Andre super chat here, back to back, says, how does Alt compare to the best left tackles versus how Neighbors Odunze compared to the best wide receivers recently drafted? Do you purely go off need or go for greater talent? I think that's the hard thing, is because recently the top 2 or 3 receivers are really good in each class. It's where you get to receiver 4, 5, 6, where there's a drop off. Top tackle is usually pretty good in the draft. There might be some growing pains.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I mean, you're sitting there hitting 80, 90% on top tier tackles in the top 5, 7 picks. You look at the history of, and this is going back for a long, long time.
Wow. And like, who is a wide receiver drafted in the top 10 that's kind of like, I mean, the guy that comes to my mind is, Drake London out of USC to the Falcons, but has that been all Drake London's fault, or the Falcons just have a really bad quarterback situation? I think that's where you're kind of looking at.
Now, that's an article that we need to write, right? You can do history. There you go. Sam, if you're listening to the show, this is a great article, or any of our writers that are listening to the show. You could do 2 articles, because this is the interest in the Titans.
Sure.
Of it's wide receiver or offensive lineman. Well, let's just face it. That's what we're talking about. And you got a little sprinkle of Brock Bowers, which is like not going to happen, but it's still a weapon for Will Levis. But the history of a top 7 pick for those 2 positions and their hit rate over the last 20 years. Who would want to read that?
I think it's just the last 10 years, because of how much the NFL's changed in the last 8 to 10 years when it comes to how the draft works. It's quarterback heavier now because of the rookie contract set structure. And the college game is putting out so many ready-to-play wideouts. You remember back in the day, Zach, in the early 2000s when you'll learn about the wide receiver going into year 3. No, that was 20 years old.
I've actually found it. So whoever writes this article, I have the database.
There you go.
I'll float some out there. Quentin Johnston, year 1, he didn't have a good year, right? For TCU. That was one that I would have missed on because I liked him out of TCU, and he didn't really impress. You mentioned Drake London. Yeah.
Does Kirk Cousins change that?
8 over. Yeah. And that's a big question. But, Chase and Waddle both hit. Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy at 15. But again,
That's
that was
15.
not a great draft class,
And
right?
Johnston was in the teens as well.
Yeah, CeeDee
right?
Lamb was the correct pick at 17. That was another bad draft.
What year?
I mean, 19 and 18, there was not a wide receiver drafted before 24, which is crazy. And then 2017 was your bad draft.
Yep.
Corey Davis, Mike Williams, John Ross.
Mm-hmm.
They got trigger happy at the top, and unfortunately the Titans, that was the year. Isn't that just bad luck? The Titans, this is your year that you've traded away and you finally have a top 5 pick and you need a wide receiver.
That's how it goes.
And all 3 of them are kind of no good. Mike Williams being the best out of them, but you got to remember he didn't even play his first year because of the back injury.
Yep. I mean, that was a tough spot. And the reporting that Buck has done around that, the Titans wanted to trade back, but couldn't find a suitor to come up to 5. So a couple more super chats before we move on to throwing shade that we do every Tuesday. Devin says, I don't think this has been discussed, but is there a chance the Titans move up in the first? I think a quick answer is no, because there's no need to, because you're going to have the players that you want more likely than not fall to you because of 4 quarterbacks, 3 guaranteed going in the first 5 picks. And so I think that's where there's no need to give up anything to move up. You just kind of let it happen and catch it. And you're going to catch a really good player, in my opinion. You probably agree on that one.
Yes.
Other super chat here. Juan comes back with another super chat and says, love the scenario of trading back for multiple ones. Yeah, I think that's something that's very intriguing because, like we said earlier, the Titans are not – the expectations for them to not make the playoffs in 2024. I think the expectation should be for them to make the playoffs in 2025 and beyond. So if you can set yourself up by gaining extra first-round picks in the future, that's just going to help you sustain this longer than those college townhouses I talked about earlier.
And the Will Levis's play will justify that. He will tell us.
Yep. And last super chat for the day, just not related to any Titans draft talk, but TLG, shout out to Austin and Zach for taking a chance on themselves and building a great show together. Been following you for years from Cali. Keep it going. TLG, appreciate that. Thank you for dropping that in there and sharing the appreciation.
And I will say the last 2 days, and I find it hilarious, is I've seen some more chats of like, I never agree with Zach. I think he's a psychopath. He's an idiot. I never once agree with that guy. And I agree with what he's saying. So that's the point of the show is we have topics. Sometimes you agree with me. Sometimes you agree with Austin. Sometimes you agree with Sam. You know, that's how it goes. And that's sometimes I agree with you guys. Sometimes I adamantly disagree, like the Dennis Daily 2.0 comment from earlier. But that's what makes the show enjoyable. But now we got shade on the horizon.
Well, we do have Splackavelli slid in here real quick with another super chat just now. Trade back with Green Bay. And that's another one where you would have to move back to 25. You know, not as far as 28, but I don't think the Green Bay Packers are really ever that aggressive in their franchise.
But they also now have Jordan Love, who just won a playoff game.
Yes. But they also had the youngest roster in the league last year with that playoff win against their old head coach and Mike McCarthy. I don't think that they're going to try to get too aggressive, but hey, you never know. 25-7 is a lot. The Bills are more desperate than the Packers because the Bills don't have anybody on their wide receiver roster from last year outside of Khalil Shakir, who caught a pass from Josh Allen. All right, now it is time for throwing shade. Let's cross our fingers and hope my computer cooperates here with this. Throwing shade here to wrap up this Tuesday. If you've got shade, send it in the chat. We'll get to it here in a second. All right, shout out Wilson County Hyundai and WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon and say hey to Payne Bone while you're there for us. And check them out, WilsonCountyHyundai.com to save money on that new ride. Shade time to wrap up this Tuesday as the chat has shade fill the stream here. Zach, I'll let you start off either with the chat or with yourself.
I have two shades. I'm going to end on my shade because it really, I learned something this week and it really irritated me. Like, I can't stand this person. So I'm going to get to that a little bit later on. Here's like a slight shade from yesterday. And look, I'm actually more of a space type guy. I enjoy space. I like the stars. I took astronomy in college. I can nail and figure out where Orion's belt is pretty consistently. But the eclipse stuff from yesterday and the pandemonium of what this country and everything happened, it was cloudy here in Nashville. So it was kind of bright cloudy for a little bit, and then it was dark cloudy, and then it was bright cloudy. I just never got into the eclipse stuff. That's me.
Did you see it?
No. I saw it get dim and light, but like, I walked outside. I'm not saying I didn't walk outside. I walked outside. It was cloudy. But no, I did not I did not take off work. I didn't plan my day around it. I didn't take a longer lunch. I didn't go get glasses. I didn't risk my retinas. I just didn't do any of that. So
I look, I think the eclipse is cool. Is it a like life-changing moment? No. Like
some people were wearing T-shirts on the news. You crazy people. Yeah. You're buying. I saw the eclipse in 2024 T-shirts, and they're black T-shirts. You're not going to wear that again, Steve, Fred, Ted, Melissa. You're not going to. It's stupid.
Like I saw, and look, Curtis says shade on the shade for ruining the eclipse. Like I think it would have been different if we had clear skies in our area where you get to see it and enjoy it more, because it is cool. But it's not like, because I saw somebody on Facebook that was like, my 9-year-old is crying and we had a horrible day because the clouds ruined the eclipse. And now my child's not going to see another eclipse until they're 39 years old. Like, they're going to be fine. Like, they're going to be fine that they're not going to see an eclipse until they're 39, because it's really like, it's not going to change or alter your life. Is it neat? Is it cool to look up and watch how it moves and stuff? Yeah. And yesterday was my birthday and I had a great time yesterday afternoon with my wife. Took half the day off and we watched the eclipse and had fun out because it was my birthday and made a day out of it. But, we saw it, took some pictures, and it was neat. It was cool. But that was, all that needed to happen. And then we moved on with our day and did other fun things and hung out as a family. So it's a cool thing, but it's not like it's a life-altering event.
Yeah, that's my first shade. That's not my real shade, but that's my first shade.
Okay, so do you want to go to the chat? My computer's having issues with scrolling the chat. So if you want to go to the chat.
Jeff says, shade on the NCAA always paying their championship or playing. Playing their championship games on Monday nights, and especially when it starts at 9:20. I think everybody had a problem with that. I stayed up and watched the whole thing.
Oh, but, for sure.
That wasn't going to get me down. I woke up a little tired. I will say that.
Should, like, the NCAA or college football and college basketball, should they avoid having championship games in Pacific time? Because that's, if this game was played in Central or Eastern time zones, I think it would have been an hour earlier. But because it was in Phoenix, they had to move it to 9:20 Eastern. You're not going to start a game in Eastern time zone at 9:20 p.m. Eastern. You'll start it at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. So should they not do Final Fours, college football playoffs, championship game? They're on Monday nights in Pacific time zone.
I'm biased because I don't live in the Pacific time zone. I think people on the Pacific Coast, I feel like I don't want to say they don't care about sports because they obviously do, but I don't think it's to the same degree. Like,
No.
I just
go find Bo Nix on Ryan Russillo's podcast, and you'll learn the exact difference between the SEC and the Pac-12.
Yeah, they just, it doesn't mean as much. Nudge, nudge, hint, hint. It doesn't mean as much. And so, but they're people too, and they've got money and they've got inflated dollars, right? LA people and California people, the cost of a Diet Coke is like $8, right? So like they'll make more money. So you got to appease. It's a business. So I understand that, but I do agree with Big Ten Jeff. Ethan says shade on Morgan Wallen for getting arrested. Now people going to Oxford concert are afraid it might get canceled again. I saw that report from, that's not going to happen. His court date is actually May 3rd, which is a Friday in Nashville. We just hope the court date is earlier on in the day so he can still play his shows. But,
that would be something. That would be something of going to court and then playing Nissan Stadium like directly afterwards.
Yeah. Well, look, if you're an outlaw, you got to be an outlaw. You can't be a good boy.
But again, like,
no, irresponsible. I don't
like
condone the action.
I mean, how quickly that could have been so much worse than what it was.
Well,
right.
And to be fair, and I'm not supporting Morgan Wallen's action, we don't truly know what happened. Like,
well, I mean, clearly a chair was thrown off of a 6-story
but we have
rooftop.
no idea the circumstance. There's reports and rumors, and all of like TMZ gets involved. So to be fair, we don't know 100% of the story.
Yeah, we don't have video yet, but it does seem fairly straightforward.
Let's wait to see the video. He could be a dumb SOB that has no care about humanity, right? If the video shows that, but if not, that's kind of where I'm a wait and see on that. Let's see, throwing shade at the alt fans who clearly don't have a backup plan, setting yourself up for disappointment. There from Derek. Tiffany says shade on Jake for trying to start some drama in the chat yesterday. So there's Jake in the chat. Eric's throwing shake on Lou Man. Oh, we've got chat on chat crime right here. He's always in the chat and his feelings because Austin ignores him. So don't ignore Lou Man, Austin. Shade on Chris Frazier. There we go. We have our Chris Frazier shade of the week. Shade on all this rain. Wifey driving to Florida today to visit family was hoping that the weather would have been good for her. There's shade on the rain. Shade on crackheads crossing the street in unpredictable trigger-esque patterns. Dangerous from BMO. So, hey, shade on crackheads. Don't smoke crack, kids. I think that's a good shade. Nate, shade on women who fall asleep DMing you. That's right there from Shade's burner account. IR throwing shade at himself. I'll leave it there. So shade there. Shade on J. Cole for backing away a rap from a rap battle against Kendrick Lamar. Very disappointing. That would have been probably a pretty good rap battle. Those are two good rappers in the industry. Throwing shade on the clouds on Texas yesterday during the eclipse. So Brian, all caps Anderson, is a big eclipse guy. We know. Austin, what is your shade of the day?
My shade goes along. It's not about Morgan Wallen, but it was something that I saw that went semi-viral on social media yesterday about how the arrest of Morgan Wallen was covered, because a couple news outlets locally published their articles about the news with a picture of Morgan Wallen at a concert, where there was really an attempt to call out said news organizations for not using Morgan Wallen's mugshot and trying to claim that it was about race for not using Morgan Wallen's mugshot. The fact of the matter is, there's a lot that goes into what news outlets and media outlets are allowed to use when it comes to photographs. And I think the public doesn't understand how some of that works when it comes to what you're allowed to use for copyright purposes, what you have access to, and what has been released. Because the news outlets publish their news articles immediately after they find it, and what's available to them are the images that they subscribe to for that news story, which are always going to be images of that person in a public setting. The mugshot was not available for Morgan Wallen until like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. yesterday. And so you can't use a mugshot for an article that hasn't been released yet by the
What's
police.
the controversy, though?
There were some people online that were claiming that news stations in Nashville used Morgan Wallen's picture at a concert of him performing or smiling instead of what they did with Darius Rucker, was using Darius Rucker's mugshot recently.
Oh, because and they called it racist?
Yes.
Jesus Christ, people. I'm sorry. That is the most ridiculous thing. Not everything is racist. I'm just going to say that. Some things are. I don't deny that. But I am with you, Austin. Shade on those people and the trolls on the internet. Not everything has to be racist. And I saw plenty of articles with his mugshot. Come on.
Once it was
get a life.
And that's hold on. And that's the thing that I think that people are too quick to jump at somebody or an organization to call them out when it's news organizations want to do the right thing. That is what they're here to do. And when they're also knowing that they have to cover something in immediacy, and what's available to them is the photograph service that they subscribe to so they can use these without getting sued by photographers.
Yeah. Well,
so there's a lot deeper meaning to things, and you can't use a mugshot that has not yet been released by the police department.
And
so
there's legalities to it, right?
Yes.
To what you're saying is copyright purposes, and you've got to use what you have and what you are able to use.
So if you want to throw shade at somebody, then maybe you can look at the people in charge of releasing the mugshot and the time and the lack of timeliness of that mugshot being released. Clearly it was held for some reason or whatever. Usually mugshots are not that hard to find, but it was held for about 10 hours.
And you know what? The Darius Rucker thing, let's go back to that. Darius Rucker was arrested for weed charges. I felt like the temperature in the room was like, who cares? Okay, he got popped for weed. You have a charge. He got arrested or detained for a period of time. I don't know the nuance of the story. And then he was released. I don't think anything less of Darius Rucker after that. That did not, for me personally, that did not change my opinion on Darius Rucker as a person, a man, a singer, an artist. But I am to that point. If you're going to get upset at the people, the trolls. That's kind of what you're bringing to the light.
No,
the shade is on the trolls that don't understand the nuance of what has to happen within media.
Yes, there is a process to everything in media and news, and there's a reason for things. And so patience is always appreciated. And so there you go. That's my shade. Zach, I know we've got to be somewhat quick here. We got a meeting coming up. But you did have some shade you wanted to get.
I'll save my shade for next week because my shade stays. It's a documentary I saw, and it's going to take a lot longer than the time we have.
Fair enough. Teasing shade for another week. So that's good. And less work for you to do over the next week of finding more shade. But appreciate everybody for watching here on the show. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like the shows on Facebook and on YouTube. Subscribe to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. Buck Rising will be live tonight for A to Z Sports Primetime. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow morning on a Wednesday. Appreciate it as always.